Okay, welcome back to Mr. B's math class. Today we're going to look at 4.3% of a number. So there's actually three student outcomes today. The first one is I can solve problems that involve percents less than 1%. Two, I can solve problems involving percents greater than 100%. And three, I can solve problems involving fractional percents. So what exactly does that mean? Let's take a look. So there actually are two ways that you can solve, finding the percent of a number. So an example here would be trying to look for what is 150% of $5. Now, the two methods we're going to look at today is, as you can see here, mental math, and the next one would be calculation. So it's important that we look at first mental math because this is the foundation of solving these problems. So you've got to understand kind of the behind the scenes, how to do this before we actually go into the calculations. So if we're first going to look at something like this, what's 150% of $5, we're going to ask ourselves a couple of things. Some pretty simple observations. Well, if we're looking for 150% of $5, we're going to tell ourselves, well, if we're looking for 150, why not break it down into an addition? So 150% is like saying 100% plus 50%. Okay? Well, if we're looking what's 100%, well, 100% of $5 is going to be 5 of 5, or 5 over 5. It's just going to be 5. So 100% of $5 would be 5. Now we're left with that other 50%. Well, we got to ask ourselves, what's 50% of $5? Well, that's like saying half of 5. Well, what's half of 5? Well, when we look at it, it's 2.5. So now we're running ourselves here with $5, and 50% of $5 is 2.5. So in the end, we go back to our addition statement, and 150% is going to be 100%, which is right here, is $5, plus half of $5 is 50%, $2.5, which gives us 7.5 or 7.50. Okay, $7.50. That's how easy something like this is. So I know I kind of jumped into it right there, but that's the solution to this one, easy enough. Let's take a look at another way to solve using mental math. Okay, now a slightly different example using mental math. Before we had a percent greater than 100, now we're having percent less than 1. And actually I should fix that and make sure that's a percent there. There we go. So last time we started the same way. We asked ourselves, what was 100%? So if I said, what's 100% of 1,000, it should be 1,000, because it's all of it. If I told you, here, take $1,000 and I'll let you keep all of it, 100% of it means you're going to keep all of it. So if 100% is 1,000. Now let's keep working our way down, because we've got a bit of a chart here. We got 100%, we got 10%, we got 1%, and 0.1%, which we want to get to. We want to get to here, and right now we're here. So what we're going to do is each time we're going to eliminate zeros off our number to get to where we want to go. So if 100% of 1,000 is 1,000, 10%, we've lost a 0 here. We're just going to lose a 0 over here as well. So 10% is just going to be 100. 1%, we've lost another 0 here, so it's empty there, we'll lose a 0 here, and it's going to be $10, which means that 0.1% is actually just going to be $1. And that's it. It's just moving our decimal back enough times that we get to where we want to go. And that's it for something like this. You just keep moving your decimal back until you have what the percent you want. And that works nicely for one that's asking for like the 0.1%, 100%, 10%. Let's take a look at another method here. So now it says method 2, calculating percent of a number. So this is the method where we're not going to use mental math. We're going to use our calculations. So what it says here we're looking at is 350% of $10. Well, step 1 says convert your percent into a decimal by dividing by 100. Well, we've got our percent here, which is 350%. And it's saying to divide by 100 to get it out of that percent. So 350 divided by 100 is going to be 3.50. So now we've got our decimal. Good. Check, we're good to go. Step 2 just says multiply your decimal by the total number. Well, our decimal again is 3.50, and it's telling us to multiply by our total number, which up here is 10. So 3.50 multiplied by $10 is going to be $35, because we've just essentially moved the decimal one place. And that's our answer. That's the other way to solve these problems. And we're going to look at these for a lot of the bigger numbers, whereas the ones we did before, that should be easier. You can use mental math in your head that don't require big numbers or a lot of fractional percents. So this is that method that, again, either way you choose what's right for you, but this one is one that would be helpful more in bigger number and percent questions, and the other one's more helpful in more simplistic percent questions. So let's try this next one. Okay, so problem solving. It says, a survey showed that 1/4%, and that's actually just up here you can see, it's just this, I couldn't make them on top of one another. A survey showed that 1/4% of 800 students use a longboard to get to school. How many of the 800 students use a longboard to get to school? Well, we want to know what the exact number is. So we've got to do our little calculations again. So we've got 1/4%, which really we need to make sure we've got that as a decimal. So we can't go 1/4 divided by 100. We need to remember that 1/4, if we just go 1 divided by 4, it's 0.25. Okay? 0.25% is the number we're working with right now. Now that we've got that, now we can follow our steps. So it said step 1, as before, was divide the percent by 100. Well, when we divide a percent by 100, we have 0.25%. We need to divide that by 100. That's our step 1. Well, 0.25 divided by 100, that's like taking the decimal back 2 spots. So move it back twice. And that gives us 0.0025. Got our decimal. Step 2 then said you need to take your decimal and multiply it by your total number. Well, our decimal is now 0.0025. We need to multiply that by our total number, which is 800. When we take that, we multiply 0.025 by 800, we actually get 2. So the answer is 2 students, excuse my messy writing here, 2 students out of 800 used a longboard to get to school. And really that's it. So the first thing to remember about this question up here was just converting our fractional percent into a decimal percent. So all we did for that was just divide the numerator by the denominator. And you guys know that from before. Then our real steps kicked in, which was just divide your percent by 100 to get it into a decimal, and multiply the decimal by the total number to get your answer. Let's try another one. So 3 3/4% of 400 students said they own a cell phone. How many own a cell phone? Well, again, let's just make sure we've got this percent right. So we know here it's 30%, right? And plus we've got our 3/4%. Well, you know from last lesson, to get that to make sense, you remember you got to convert this into your decimal percent. So all we're going to do is go 3 divided by 4 equals 0.75. So it's just like saying 30% plus 0.75%. And now what we're dealing with up here is actually just 30.75%. Now we can start. So 30.75% of 400 students said they own a cell phone. How many own? Well, step 1, like we said before, was to divide that number by 100 to turn it into a decimal. 30.75%, not even using your calculator, just remember, to get it divided by 100, you want to get rid of 2 zeros. So here, you bump it back 2 spots, and it becomes 0.3075. Step 2 then said use your decimal, which we have as 0.3075, and multiply it by your total number. Well, our total number was 400. So multiply by 400 students, and we get an answer of 123. So therefore, 123 of 400 students own a cell phone. Again, sorry about the messy writing. And it's also important to remember at the end of your problems, if it's a problem-solving question, to write your sentence, right? That's an important end to your problem-solving question. And you guys have known that for many years now. But that's the important part. So again, it's just following those simple steps. The first one, kind of the pre-step, is just making sure if you've got a fraction in your percent, convert that fraction into a decimal percent. So again, we had our 30 3/4%. We just said that was 30 plus 3/4. We had to make this, which was 33 divided by 4. Oops. 3 divided by 4, which gave us 0.75. I mean, this is all, prior knowledge, but just to remember that, okay? One more. So do this one either way you want. It might be trickier doing mental math, but whatever works for you. So pause it here, and then if you want to play it when you're ready to check out the solution, go for it. Okay, so this one can be done, I guess, using either method, however you want it to. I'll do both just so we can kind of see. So let's do this method first. Let's use method 2, our calculations. So again, with step 1, remember we have to convert the percent into a decimal. Well, 120%, we just divide by 100, which again, when we move it back, it is 1.2. Now we got our decimal. Step 2 then was just multiply your decimal by total number. 1.2 multiplied by $40.12 equals $48. Oops. $48 and 144. Well, we know that's not going to work, so we know that it's going to get cut off right here. So $48, and does the 4 round up? No, it doesn't, so it becomes $48.14. Okay, that's it. So it's important to remember as well, guys, that dollar sign, right? We're dealing with money. It's not a number, it's money. It's just like using units before. That dollar sign's a unit, so make sure that you're always writing down the units in your answers. Now, as promised, we'll do the one last solution. Okay, well, as I said, we'll just show you the other way as well. We did the calculations on the first page. This is kind of the mental math way to do this as well, because it can be done. So our problem was, what's 120% of $40.12? Well, that 120 is like saying 100% plus 20%. Well, right away we know that 100% of $40.12 is actually just going to be $40.12. And 20% of $40.12, well, that's just like saying, if we look at it, if 100% is $40.12, 20% is 1/5 of 100%, right? Because 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, it breaks down to 20s. So all we have to do then is just take our number, $40.12, and divide it by 5, because it's 1/5 of it. And $40.12, I'm just going to do my calculations here, is $8. There we go. So we got our two numbers now. We do our calculations again. 100% plus 20%. Well, 100 was $40.12, and 20% was $8 there, to get a final answer of $48.144. Done. So that's it for today. If you have any questions, feel free to come to class tomorrow and let me know. I know this is also a bit to handle. Just remember, use whatever method works best for you. Both will work, but pick the one that works best, whether it's mental math for you or using the calculations, right? Some will work better in some situations, but as long as you know how to use both of them, you're going to be okay.